Okay, well, thanks everyone for joining us today. Really appreciate you giving up your time. I know you're all probably busy with this, the situation that we're all in at the moment, so I really appreciate it. To me, digital transformation is a really interesting topic because it's something that most, if not all, businesses are undertaking to varying degrees. But what I found that it isn't really well understood, and that's why we wanted to hold this webinar today. Because it's not well understood, it leads to an inability to communicate within an organisation. So you don't have a shared sort of understanding of what a digital transformation is. That can lead to incorrect implementation and this fear of the unknown. Because you don't know what it is, it's natural to assume that it's bigger, it's more complex, it's going to cost more time and money than what it actually does. So hopefully we can sort of alleviate some of that today for you. In saying that, it definitely is big. It is a complex topic, so we're not going to be able to cover everything in 30 minutes, but this will give you a good understanding of what digital transformation is, how you can start implementing it within your business. So to begin with, I saw this image going around LinkedIn. I thought it was pretty funny. It's pretty topical and probably pretty accurate in most instances as well. I found it really amazing to see the number of innovations and new business models that have developed out of the current environment. You're seeing a lot within hospitality. There's been some really interesting things come out of that. A lot of restaurants have turned into delivery businesses almost overnight. So when things do return to whatever the new normal is, those excuses that you've probably all heard that it's too hard to go to the cloud, too hard to work remote, or too hard to innovate quickly. I just don't think they're going to be valid anymore. We can see that when you have to, when you're forced to, you can make some changes pretty quickly and, some significant changes at that. The one thing that I would add to this image, if I was going to do it, is I would add CFOs to the list. We work with a lot of finance teams and we see these finance teams leading transformations in a lot of organisations. I think the key reasons around that is that they generally have access to most of the critical business data and they really understand what drives the business. So just quickly to give you a bit of background on why digital transformation's interest of mine. So I've spent in the last decade working within technology. I've worked with a lot of startups across in a variety of capacities. With these startups, I've seen that the small, agile, they haven't got a lot of money, but they're able to move fast and they're able to disrupt large industries. So, taking that and then applying it to organisations has become a real sort of interest or a passion of mine. And on the other side, I've worked with a lot of large businesses, government organisations around improving operational efficiency, automating processes, developing new business models, and all of that leveraging technology. And in the current role with Forest Grove, what really sort of got my interest and why I wanted to join the company was, we have these components around how we can automate some of the key business functions and remove a lot of manual processes, improve sort of your operational efficiency, but then also on the data and analytics side, which I think is really underpins digital transformation. We'll go into that in a bit more detail, but being able to generate more insight out of data. And I think that's the really sort of critical factor for a lot of organisations and sort of sits underneath this digital transformation. So, in addition to what I've done within my sort of working capacity, I've spent a lot of time researching and learning about digital transformation. And that's really helped me to refine and build on what I've experienced firsthand and what I'm going to share with you guys today. So the agenda, we're going to go through what is digital transformation, what are the benefits to your business, why you should be doing this. We're going to go through what we call our Forest Grove digital transformation framework. So that's really a visual way of understanding what digital transformation is, the different components and the different stages. And then from that, we've got these concepts around 2 pillars and the transformation building blocks, which we'll go into more detail. I'll share a couple of examples from some of our customers. And then we'll go into how you can start the digital transformation journey within your organisation. At the end of it, we'll get to some questions. So when you guys were registered, I got some really good questions through. So I've got 7 or 8 from that I'll address. A lot of the other questions get addressed through the content of the webinar. But if anything, takes your interest and you want to sort of explore that further, You can just put it into the Q&A box and I'll get to it at the end of the session. Or if it's something that's more in depth, obviously you can contact me, or we can talk one-on-one afterwards. So that's the agenda. We'll try and get this done within 30 minutes. So to begin with, what is digital transformation? So we've defined digital transformation as the process of existing businesses. So I think that's really a key point. This is about established businesses, not about startups. So how existing businesses can change the way that they work or the way that they think, using technology to improve their operations, create new customer experiences, business models, or digital businesses. So that's just a simple way of understanding it, giving you sort of one sentence that you can sort of capture in what is digital transformation. One point I do want to make though, it's not so much about the technology. Like, this is a sort of a business problem, it's a business strategy problem. Technology is an enabler, but it's not about, it's not so much about what that technology is, but that just enables you to perform these transformations. So moving on from, what is digital transformation, then we want to look at why should you be doing this? What are the benefits to your business? What are you sort of going to get out of it at the end of the day? So we think, there's three real key benefits in undertaking digital transformation. The first of these is efficiency. Go through this process, it's going to help you build the most efficient business you can, which really should be a no-brainer for anyone, but there is still so much scope for improvement in a lot of businesses. So making your business as efficient as possible. Moving on from that, I think it's about making your business adaptable as well. So implementing some of these processes, these new ways of thinking. What it does is it allows you to quickly adapt to changes in market conditions or operating environments. Historically, you would have thought that was to stave off any disruption from new technology or new startups. But as we've seen, a world pandemic can do that as well. It's not something I would have guessed, but the businesses that have gone through this, they're much better placed to be able to adapt and respond and sort of weather the sort of situation that we're going through at the moment. And then the last one is around creating new ways of creating value for your customers, for your shareholders, for your staff, and innovating your business model through developing new products or new businesses. So I don't think that anyone would disagree with the view that if you could achieve all of this, it's going to make your business better. At the same time, it should also highlight to you that digital transformation is not just a program of work, it's not some discrete projects. It really is an all-of-business strategy. So what we call our Forest Grove digital transformation framework, it's really just a way of picturing how this all sits together. So to begin with, it's got to be aligned with your business objectives and strategy. So you need to understand, what are you trying to achieve out of this? What's your overall business corporate strategy? And then underneath that, so make sure that that's well understood. This should just be sort of a normal part of your business. But what sits under that is what we call our sort of two pillars of digital transformation. So you can consider these sort of streams of thinking, or streams of projects or activity, sort of end aims, goals. The first of these is digitizing existing operations, and we'll go into more detail explaining what these mean, and digital business models. So these are your sort of two aims. Really you want to digitizing existing operations is kind of your starting point, but where you want to get up to is your digital business models, because that's your sort of growth opportunities. And then what sits underneath that, these sort of two pillars, is what we call the transformation building blocks. So these are, they're sort of the mix of skills, new processes, org structure, different ways of thinking, and as well as the technology platforms that you're going to need to deliver a transformation. There's a number of these, but today we're going to focus on three: data automation, insights, bringing startup thinking into your organisation, as well as an organisational structure that can help facilitate a transformation process. So let's get into the two pillars. So the first one is digitizing your existing operations. So this is about making your existing operations as efficient as possible, which everyone should agree that's a good thing. Yeah, our sort of view at Forest Grove is that this is where you should start. If this is a new process for you, if you're sort of early on in your transformation journey, then start by digitising your existing operations. A number of the key reasons for this is it gives you a way to deliver immediate value, so you can start to show other people in your organisations the benefits of going through this. The outcomes and customers are fairly well defined and understood. So, as opposed to trying to create new revenue opportunities, new business models, you can focus on what you already know, and you've got a good idea of what the outcomes can be, what your return on investment can be. So that's going to be fairly well and understood. So it makes it a much easier starting point, and it makes it easier for the organisation to accept that you're doing this for these outcomes. And then the last sort of point is that it's going to give you the opportunity to develop your ability and understanding of the transformation building blocks. So take the sort of approach and apply it to digitizing your operations, which will then help you apply that to developing digital business models in that sort of second pillar. So just to dive into a bit further, it's important to understand that it's not just about simply transferring your existing processes to a digital format. So it's not just going paperless, like it has to deliver value. There's only a point in undertaking this if it's going to increase the value. So I always like to talk about, when you're using technology to improve your existing business, it's an enabler, it's not a disruptor. You hear a lot of people saying technology disruption, but it can actually help you to enable a lot of things within your organisation. And there's a lot of technology that exists today that businesses aren't making the most out of, that they can leverage to improve the core business. So it's not about just looking for the shiny new thing. What can you do today to make your core business better? So within this, take the opportunity to think how you can improve your process without the existing limitations. So that's one of the things about technology being an enabler. It can take away the limitations that you might have with Excel or with a paper process or some legacy systems. So reimagine these processes. How can you get more value out of them? How can you get more value out of your business data? And then how can technology help you get there? The second point, it's about sort of moving from transactional to analytical. So a lot of what we do at Forest Grove is we automate a lot of processes, a lot of finance processes, a lot of operational processes. So you can remove those manual repetitive tasks, and then that frees up your capacity to think about more analytical, generating insight, and looking at what else they can do. So if someone's day-to-day is completing Excel spreadsheets to input into an ERP or some financial reporting, take that away from them, and then you'll be amazed at what sort of you can unlock when they've got the capacity to think about other things. And then the last one, which I sort of touched on, is how can you generate more value from your data? I was thinking about, in mining companies, construction companies, there's so many processes where they're doing a job safety form or a take 5. They're literally writing on a piece of paper. They go sit on a supervisor's desk. Maybe someone will look at it. But there's actually some really valuable data in there. If you had it in a format where you could capture it, you could analyse it, you might see that there's some common safety issues that are getting raised over and over, which will allow you to take some action. But because of the format that it's in, you don't have that capability. So how else can you get more value out of that company data? So just to give you an example, some extra context, this is a project that we delivered with Rio Tinto, and this was about allowing them to improve their project reporting process. So as you can see from the slide, Rio have the project data in multiple source systems. I think it was about 6 different source systems, where they had to pull this data out, go through a manual process of manipulating it in Excel to be able to generate some reports. And this is a 2-week process. So, what happens today, they won't have that insight for 2 weeks into the future. So the transformation that we took them through was we helped automate that extraction and consolidation of the project data, as well as then creating these visual reports. So we used Nine, which is our sort of core data platform and data analytics tool, with Power BI and a cloud data warehouse to perform that. and pulled out data from SAP, from these different operational systems. And the result of that, so the sort of tangible result is that we took this 2-week report building process, transformed it to an automated daily process, so they could get that information straight away. And yes, they generated efficiencies and cost reductions through just removing that manual process. But the real value, and it's a bit harder to measure, but I think it's probably more valuable than what they would get from eliminating those sort of manual tasks, is having access to the project data on a daily basis. So clearly it's going to increase their ability to make decisions that can improve their business, rather than sort of 2 weeks after the fact, when the value of that data is really diminished and the options are a lot more limited. So that's just one sort of example about how you can go about digitizing your existing sort of core business. So moving on to the second pillar. So digital business models, it's about enabling your business to create new ways of engaging your customers, enter new markets, or generate new revenue streams. So this is really, the sort of growth-focused areas. So like I said, innovating existing business models. So it might be re-looking at what your core business is, how you can apply technology to do something different, creating new products, or even creating new digital businesses. In our view, one of the key benefits of doing this is it's really going to give you the ability to adapt. It's really critical, and the value of that cannot be underestimated. There clearly is going to be some challenges with this pillar. What I wanted to just highlight and address is that what you often see in large organisations is they'll look at sort of creating a new product or creating a new business, digital business. They'll want to look at what's the ROI, and is that going to be big enough to move the needle for them. So if you're a $500 million business and someone says, look, we've got this opportunity, we've got this insight in our customers, we think we could build something to launch this new business, but it might only add $1 million or $2 million revenue in the next year or two. A lot of companies will just sort of ignore that. They don't think it's worth the the time and effort, because it's not going to move the needle that much in terms of their overall revenue. But I think we have to sort of sometimes that can be fairly short-sighted. You can be complacent about your existing business, think that it's not going to happen to you, but there's so many examples where large businesses have ignored new opportunities and they're no longer around. Kodak, Blockbuster, these guys are perfect examples where they had some really good opportunities. They could have been sort of early movers in a market. They thought, no, the existing business is strong enough, so they've ignored that, which was initially probably a small opportunity, but has turned into a large one. So I think that's one thing, and that's an overall sort of culture and leadership issue that you've got to be able to address in your organisation. And sort of before we move on, I just want to highlight there are some real key advantages for you guys, as you've got some existing sort of large businesses over any startup that's trying to come in and disrupt your space. So you've got existing infrastructure, existing resources, customers, and with that comes a lot of existing data. If you can take what we're sort of going through today and utilize those advantages and bring in some of the new ways of thinking and some of what the advantages that startups have, then you're going to be a much stronger business. You're going to be able to compete and beat anyone that's trying to enter your market. So to give you an example from a really good customer of ours, Life Without Barriers. So these are really interesting, innovative, not-for-profit organisation. They provide a range of care services. This was particularly within sort of mental health. Life Without Barriers, so they use Nine, our sort of data analytics platform, to develop a machine learning model that alerts their staff to clients that are most at risk of experiencing a behavioural or medical incident prior to the event. So I think they took sort of 2 to 3 million sort of data points that they had on their existing customers. So as I was mentioning, like leverage, what are your advantage? You've got some existing data, you've got some existing customers, and then how can you use that better? And then the transformation that they went through was that they were able to use that predictive model to deliver and enhance client outcomes. So they could go and reach out to these clients before an incident occurred, while innovating the business model. So, they really flip that delivery model. They move from being reactive to proactive, which is a significant step. And a massive transformation. It's still early days, but it's really set them up for where they can head to in the future. And this predictive model has enabled them to determine at-risk clients prior to an incident with a high success rate, which it's got a whole range of benefits to the community, to the clients, but also to the business. So sort of going back on that point around what's your key strengths, what are your key advantages, how can you leverage that capability to create new business models? One company that you're probably all familiar with is Amazon. So Amazon, large e-commerce platform, and Amazon they do this quite a lot, but they build up capability in-house to support their sort of core business. So they built up capabilities within cloud computing and hosting, sort of data centers. They did that to support their e-commerce business, but then they've spun that out into a new business called AWS, and that has gone on to be the largest cloud hosting provider in the world. They've got data centers all around the globe, and it's probably the most profitable part of the business. But that's spun out of having to build that capability. What were their sort of key strengths? And then they've taken that, commercialized it, created a whole new business that's probably making more money for them than their e-commerce business. So these things are possible, and you just leverage your strengths. All right, so next, we've spoken about the two pillars. Let's have a look at the transformation building blocks. What are some of the key things you need to do to get there? So the first one I want to talk about is data automation and insight. Having a data and a data platform, in our view, it's really the one piece of critical infrastructure that you need to underpin your digital transformation. You can do bits of this without it, but you're not going to get the full value if you don't have that data platform to sort of bring everything together and help you generate those ongoing insights. So, the challenge that we often see is that data, it's siloed, it's available only after the fact, and it's not presented in a way that allows for automation or facilitating decision making. So the solution from how we sort of work with customers and what we've seen in the market is, implementing the data platform is going to allow you to capture your valuable business data. So what I was saying before in terms of having timesheets or take 5 safety forms written down in notepads. But how else can you capture that business data, get it into a digital format so you can get some insight from it? You can connect to various source systems, which will give you that one single source of truth. So, when you've got siloed, separate source systems, you've got different data, and you might have, customer records over here and customer records over here. But if it just gets updated in one, it doesn't go through the other, then, which one's correct? So how can you manage that? So bring that into one sort of platform, one repository, allows you to give you that single source of truth. And sort of flowing on from that, it also gives you the ability to extend your legacy systems. So one of the key roadblocks that you'll see in a digital transformation is you've got these old legacy systems that are large, they sit right across your organization. They cost a lot of money, a lot of time and resources to move away from. But we don't really advocate for sort of taking that, having to remove all your systems and replacing it with brand new things. If like the platform that we use, Nime, can sit in the middle of these legacy systems, can allow you to pull the information out of it, push relevant data back into your legacy systems, and then you can use that to build modern applications on top of it. So if you want to build a mobile app to do timesheets or to push job information to your workers in the field, then just having that sort of data platform that sits in the middle allows you to keep your legacy systems. You can just keep them churning over and have that sort of core business running, but build these modern applications on top of it. And clearly, as in the Rio example, you can make evidence-based decisions. You can identify opportunities for task automation, for business improvement, and you can get better business and customer insights. So instead of just viewing data from one source and getting a picture from that one source, you can blend and combine multiple sources and get a more holistic picture that's going to generate some better insight for your business. So the second transformation building block is startup thinking. So if you went out and asked people what they thought was the biggest advantage startups have, my guess is that most people are going to say it's technology. But in my opinion, it's not technology, it's really speed. There's definitely some instances where startups have created completely new technology, but for the most part, they're simply reimagining what already exists, and they're doing it faster, and they've got better customer insights than the incumbent. So they know the customer problems better, and they've got the agility to actually act on that and implement something. So I'm just going to highlight a couple of ways you can leverage that sort of startup thinking in your business, apply it with your key advantages, and sort of come out as the winner. So, challenges that we see, businesses develop process and structures that suit classical business strategy and predictable environments, but the world is no longer predictable, so we need to adapt to that. And the solution, in sort of our opinion, is if you can apply this startup thinking and processes to how you deliver new products and projects, and the key components are customer-led insights, the sort of concept of small bets, and limiting your runway. There's other things you can take from startups, but these are three that we think are pretty critical, and three that you can every business can start implementing straight away. So customer-led insights, it's really about switching your thinking to building new products based on what your customers really want, not what you think they want. The best startups base their decisions on insights and data from customer behaviour. So, give you an example, another startup that you should all know, an Airbnb. In the early days of Airbnb, they were finding they weren't actually, that's an initial success, but they weren't getting a lot of traction. They weren't getting, that real sort of hockey stick growth that they were aiming for. So they went through this process of getting data from their customers, getting feedback, interviewing their customers to find out what is really the issue around why they're not getting more bookings and conversions on their website. And they narrowed it down to something simple as quality of photos of the listings. A lot of people just taking photos off their iPhones and posting that, not professional photographers, obviously. So what they did, they ran an experimental approach where they tested it in a particular region. So didn't apply it across all their business. They just selected one particular city. They got some professional photographers to take some photos of some listings, put them on the website, and just measured what the impact was. And they found much higher conversion rates, much higher rates of booking. So then they rolled that out across the organisation. Then they started to get that real sort of scale and traction. And then they had ways they could improve the quality of listing photos going forward. So that was, based on getting some data, some customer insight, and then being able to really understand that customer problem, and then delivering something that the customers really wanted. You could have maybe guessed that there was other reasons why they weren't getting traction, and that's where a lot of people tend to go, is that they just sort of take their opinion or their gut feel. Take a bit of your intuition, but then go and get some real validation and input from customers to drive that sort of roadmap going forward. Small bets. So this is about getting to the mindset that you don't have to put all of your eggs into one basket. It's about focusing on speed and small projects that take that experimental approach, where the main focus is on learning and how to deliver customer value. Use some data, use your customer insight and some of your intuition to take a small bet. Then some of these are going to fail, so learn to fail fast, learn to fail cheaply, find the ones that are winners, and then back them with a big bet. And then the last one before we move on to the next transformation building block is limiting your runway. So to me, this is a really simple way to change your thinking and your decision-making process, and something you could go and implement tomorrow in most organisations. In a startup context, your runway is how much time you have left before you run out of money. So startups either have to progress the business enough to demonstrate increasing value to be able to raise more money, or start to generate enough revenue to sustain their operations. In a business context, you rarely have that level of pressure. It's way too easy, and sometimes even expected, to access more funds, more people, more time. But if you take those options away, I can guarantee that people will change how they make decisions. They'll, automatically, things that they thought were important, they'll start to rule out. and you'll focus on delivering something within a time frame rather than delivering everything that you can imagine. So that helps you narrow down to what is really important versus what are nice to have, or something that isn't really essential. It's not going to add real value. And we would also recommend take this through a gated process. So start with 60 to 90 days. So you don't want to give them too much time, otherwise you'll just it just seems too far away. Keep it down to 60 to 90 days. Focus on delivering value and demonstrating value, and then scale that up as you sort of progress. And the last one is around sort of reimagining your organisational structure. So trying to fit new ways of doing business within existing organisational structures. It can cause clashes, and it can reduce the chance of success. So what we see is sort of a potential solution around this is implementing new structures, focusing on empowering your teams, aligning with your business objectives, and localizing decision making. So in a traditional structure, you might have all your software developers in a software development team, might have your marketing under a marketing team. So what we're talking about is being able to blend those teams to get some more localized decision making and just increase the speed. So with autonomous but structured teams, there's a few ways you can do it. But what we suggest is starting with small cross-functional teams that are aligned around a product or an initiative or a business goal. Focus on speed and agility, and give them all the skills and resources they need to execute on that. So you might need a software developer, a designer, a product manager, marketing, sales, all within one team instead of separate sort of departments. And then you need to bring that team together with a leader. So someone that's going to be essentially a mini CEO, so it might be a product owner, which then has the authority to make decisions about that product. It's going to empower that team. It's going to deliver more speed and ownership than a traditional approach. And then you need this team to sit within a larger grouping that's got some alignment, so you're not creating more silos or people just going off in different directions. I'll give you a quick example from Spotify. Spotify sort of created this sort of structure around squads. So a squad will have that sort of cross-functional team, and the focus will be on just one function. So it might be improving the playlist function within Spotify. That's all that they work on. That's their aim. And then that squad sits within a broader tribe, and then that gives them that sort of structure. The other advantage around this sort of approach is, when you sort of start to try and expand the digital transformation across your organisation, you've got a spread of skills and knowledge already. So you've got this little cross-functional team, and that can sort of start to embed it and spread it across the different sort of departments within your organisation. It's going to promote collaboration, and it's really going to allow you to grow this beyond just one project or one initiative. The next point around sort of separating operational efficiency in new business teams, it's really about acknowledging that they perform different functions, and therefore they have different needs. So what we've seen a lot of, and I think innovation teams is a good example. We saw probably a couple of years ago, there was a lot of businesses, large organisations moving to, I think, yes, we need to be innovative. Let's bring in an innovation manager or an innovation team. But what I saw a lot of is that they would bring this team together, or an innovation manager. They'd make them responsible for continuous improvement, so improving operational efficiency, as well as creating new business models or innovating their existing business model, and quite often responsible for some personnel development, so getting people in the organisation thinking around innovative processes and having this sort of upskilling approach. So they're sort of operating in a lot of different streams, and then what they'll typically measure success on is purely dollars saved or cost savings or efficiency gains. And clearly that's not capturing everything that they're doing. That's really suitable for improving operational efficiency, but then if you want them to focus on new business models, you need a different way of measuring that and seeing what value they're creating. Within a startup context, startups will typically measure sort of progress on value or customer value. I'm not going to go into detail, but if you want to have a look at something that's a fairly simple framework for measuring how a startup's progressing, just Google Pirate Metrics, and they'll give you an idea of how else you might be able to measure these sort of new business teams. And I think the last point on that is it is difficult. A lot of people want to know, like, what's the return on investment? You're not going to know that with a new business team. You can't predict what's going to happen. All you can do is have these other ways of measuring, are you progressing? And I see it all the time with startup pitches when they're trying to pitch for funding and pitching to traditional sort of investors that are used to that traditional way of how you value a business. And they try and pitch on, okay, we're going to achieve these revenue goals, and you just know they're not going to achieve it. And they need to sort of switch that that sort of discussion to, this is the value we're going to create. This is how we're going to measure that we're acquiring new customers or getting more active customers or retaining customers. And they're sort of the key things that you should be focusing on in that sort of stream. Okay, so I know that's pretty quick and high level, but hopefully that's given you a good understanding of what digital transformation is, and you can start to see how you can fit this into your business. So next we're going to go through what are some of the key steps for how you can start this digital transformation journey. So, you want to be able to move from planning to implementation. So first thing is really assess your business and operating environment. So, this is a business strategy. It needs to sit within the context of what your business capabilities are, what's the environment you're sitting in, and what's your overall business objectives. Following on from that, you need to start to plan out a way to begin implementing this within your organisation. So that might be, some of the things that we work with customers on is around a data strategy, a transformation strategy, a roadmap. How are you going to start to implement some of these initiatives and start getting some momentum within your organisation, as well as how you're going to look at the sort of the people and processes, because you're going to have to bring people along for this journey. It's going to be something new. They're going to have to be able to change and adapt. So that's sort of critical. And also, how does this align and help you achieve your business objectives and business goals? And then you move more into sort of the implementation. So when you're implementing a transformation, you've really got, so we see sort of two main sort of ways of doing that. So you can take a whole of business approach. This is really where your business decides, this is the way we're going. We're going to start implementing these new processes, and you're going to get the whole business sort of working in this new way. It's obviously a really big step. You need some really strong leadership, real big backing from the execs. Sort of executive team have to really believe in this, and you've got to have an existing culture of being able to change and adapt. So that is a big step. What we probably see more of, and what we would typically recommend as a starting point, is this sort of gradual approach. So your gradual approach is focusing on things like a proof of concept, pilots, starting with some small projects that you can achieve quickly. We like to think that you can move from a sort of strategy to an implementation of a proof of concept, within sort of 3 months. And then you can start to learn some of these skills, demonstrate some value, and then move that out to the business to the point where it's accepted. Everyone knows what you're doing. They can see the value. You've got some really good buy-in, and then you can sort of maybe move to that whole business or look at really scaling that up. The last one is balancing the pillars. So if you're going through a successful transformation, you've got to focus on both pillars. It's not a linear process where you start with one and do all of pillar one and then you move to pillar two. As I said before, if you're new, start with pillar one, but eventually you've got to bring in this sort of second pillar. So you're going to have that challenge of balancing your resource allocation between the two, but just make sure you continually monitor this and make adjustments as required. Now, this can't be a fixed thing. It's got to be flexible. So monitor on a regular basis, make those changes as required as you're going through the implementation phases. And then lastly, stay the course. So digital transformation is an ongoing process. It's going to continue to evolve. but it's something all businesses will need to go through eventually. So the ones that start now, you can have a much bigger advantage over those sort of latecomers to this process. So we're getting close to wrapping things up. We'll go into questions soon, but if you're looking at this and you're thinking, how you can implement within your business, or how you might need to get some extra help. So this is the digital transformation service offering that we have at Forest Grove. So we can come in and help you at the start around your strategy and consulting, help you formulate that plan, move that to architecting and implementing the right technical solutions, and then once you've put in place some technology or some infrastructure, then we can help support and manage that. So the reason why we have that support and managed services component is we can support what's in there, the infrastructure, and allows your team to focus on what's new, what's the next thing that you need to start addressing. And as we go through all these steps, we always take a collaborative approach. So it's not about just us building something, giving it to you and handing it over. It's about sort of working with you, collaborating with you. So you're upskilling, you're getting across all these transformation building blocks in this process at the same time. So then your company's coming up at the same time as getting some tangible sort of assets. So if you do need some extra advice or some help on that, feel free to reach out and we can chat further. All right, well, thanks for going through that. I've got some questions. If you have any other questions, you can put them in the Q&A box. But some of the ones that came through during the registration process. So one of the ones we had was, how do you onboard non-technical team members? My response to this is, this isn't so much, technology is what you get at the end of it, and you need to leverage technology, but it's more of a business, it's more of a people problem rather than a technology problem. So I think, if you take that approach, that it's not around so much the technology, but it's around sort of getting people to change the way of thinking and the processes, and you don't have to be technical to get across that. Someone asked about, how do you resource a transformation? I think, in the long run, you want to build this capability in-house. You want to have those teams that you can execute new products, you can have development. But if you're starting off, it is a big step to go from not having anything to having a team. And it's not, I see it too often where they might bring in one software developer, and one software developer is not going to be that effective. You really need a team. You need some different skill sets. So I would suggest, to begin with, you want to bring in some external help, bring in some people who've done this, some expertise, but also take the approach that at the same time, you want to be upskilling your internal team to be able to manage this on an ongoing basis. Let's have a look. What else do we have? Timeline to achieve the full impact of digital transformation. Well, as I said, I think you can start there, get the initial process done within 3 months, get a strategy plan, get a roadmap, get a proof of concept, and I think that's a good time frame and a realistic time frame. But beyond that, it's an ongoing process. So it's going to take 2-3 years to really get some real significant change. So it is a long term, but as most business strategies are, so have those sort of short term goals, but with a sort of longer term vision of where you're going to transform this business to. Look, I think we're sort of a bit over time, so hopefully that's sort of given you guys a good understanding, good overview. You got some ideas of how you can start implementing this. If you do have some more questions, then my contact details are on the slide here. Feel free to reach out, give me an email, give me a call. Happy to chat further. But lastly, I just want to say thanks for giving up your time. I hope you got a lot out of it, and look forward to hearing how you're all going on your digital transformation journey. I'm sure you're all at different stages, but would really like to talk to you further